Apple has a great third quarter that pushes them back over $1 trillion in value again. Independent beat out institutional analysts in regards to predictions about Apple's quarterly results, but they all still suck. Tonight, that and more on the Mac to the Future livecast. Go, go, go. Well, one crazy train ride later, and Macstock is now officially over, and we're all so sad because it was, once again, it was such a great time. My name is, oh, that's not working the way I thought it was going to. My name is Guy Serle, and I don't see my my little thingy that's supposed to pop up, and it's not showing up. Yeah, so does it have to go someplace else? I think it does.
Oh, yeah. It just came pop right
there. It is. Boy, I am so organized. And I am your humble host of the never-ending nightmare that is the Mac to the Future show. And I am joined by Mr. Warren Sklar and Mr. David Ginsburg. Hello, sirs. How are you this evening?
Lovely. I'm recovering from Macstock too, but
I'm recovering from watching you guys post things about Macstock.
Yeah, stuff. Stuff about Macstock.
That's all. My news feed was just like Macstock.
There was a lot of it. There was a lot.
We did post a lot.
So like Warren and Warren wasn't there. No, he was down in Guatemalan. Guatemala. Guatemalan.
Strangely enough, I was in Chicago. I went to Chicago and I left.
It was a crisscross.
Yeah, I went from Chicago to Nashville while you guys were doing your thing, and then back home. And then my son was still doing this thing there, so he was there, but he didn't want to go to Macstock. So
yeah, it would have been what, from where you are, about 10-hour drive
from
where you live. Yeah.
I don't drive that. I fly.
You could have done it. You could have.
No, I don't do that.
Well, he was in Chicago though.
He was in Chicago. All right.
Yes.
Well, we're gonna talk a lot about Macstock a little bit later on. That's gonna be how we're gonna close the show. But let's do a few other things first. As most people that follow these kinds of things know, Apple just had their third quarter results, and we're not going to get into like all the details of it. However, based on that and a few other things that they have done, Apple has taken a small dip in their cash reserves. They only have $211 billion available in cash. My God, how will they survive?
Well, the problem is Google took over the number one spot in cash reserves. So now we got to listen to all the Google people go, hey, we got more money than you guys have.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what happened.
Yeah, good old Google people. Tim Cook says the Apple credit card will be released this month. Are both of you going to get it, or just one of you? Or
I'm not going to use it, but I'm definitely getting one. So.
I'm sorry. It's a shiny piece of titanium that has like an Apple logo and my name etched in it. Of course I'm going to get it.
It's a personalized piece of metal that is basically free. You can have it and do nothing with it.
I get 3%. Okay, I get money back for using it.
Strangely enough, I was telling you guys I have an American Express card that's also made of metal too.
Yeah.
For some reason, and it's crappy. Like the numbers like are actually scratching off. It's. I really hope the Apple one's designed better than the American Express.
Well, I mean, part of it may also be just in the American Express. Is it green or pink or purple or what is it? The American Express one.
The one I have is gold. It's actually gold color, and it's It's gold medal. I don't have it with me. It's downstairs. But
Okay,
it's,
and what about
it's
the
gold.
numbers and stuff? Are they like white or are they the same color gold? Is it just
They're
like
black. So the letters are black on there.
one? Okay,
But
well,
like-
see, that might be the problem. I don't think the Apple Card has any other like paint or anything on it. That it's
So they're
just
etched.
all etched in.
But the gold card is also the Amex is also etched. But when the black scratches off, you can't see the numbers on there. So like my security code, I had
Yeah.
to take a Sharpie and write the security code on the card because I can never see it. So I actually did.
Put it in one password or something. I'm sure you got a
I-
password manager.
That's on my phone. Too.
Okay.
Yeah, I got all that.
All right. Hey, Frank, haven't seen you in what, 2 days, 3 days?
2
How you
days.
doing?
Hey, Frank.
Spotify has twice as many paid subscribers. You were right about that, Warren. As Apple, but they're still losing money because twice as many unpaid subscribers as paid subscribers equals money loss, apparently. So, yeah. So Spotify it's probably part of the reason why they're trying to stop paying Apple for all of the what is it? All of the 15% or whatever it is that they're having to pay for
The
iOS
app
subscribers.
store fee. Yeah, the app store fee thing.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
Spotify.
Spotify. The one thing they have is a free option, and Apple Music doesn't. So,
Right. So they're not losing money. Maybe Spotify
Well-
needs to stop having an unpaid option.
Well, their business model is advertisements, so they're obviously not
Well,
doing
it's,
that.
they're losing money.
Yeah. No, I
So
don't know.
you know, it's like the Lucille Ball of economics. If you're losing money on a sale, just make twice as much of them, because that always works.
Yep. I have no idea why they'd be losing money there, but like
Okay.
why? But
Well,
think
a
about
lot
it
of
for
it
a second.
depends on the licensing terms they have with the various music publishers.
Right.
You know, maybe Apple, because of their tie-in with iTunes and the fact that they make so much money off Apple anyway, got a better deal.
Yeah.
Better
But
lawyers.
supposedly they pay the artists. Apple pays the artists better than Spotify, too. So they pay higher royalties. to
Well,
the
maybe,
artists.
but they also, like you said,
Which
they
is a
also
good
don't
thing,
have a
yeah.
free option.
Right.
So, you know, you're either paying for Apple Music or you're not getting Apple Music.
Right.
Okay, first story. Apple made lots of money. Is this a shock to anyone? This is a story from Business Insider. And as much as it pained them to say it, Business Insider has many nice things to say about Apple in their third quarter results. Wearables were at $5.5 billion, a $1.8 billion increase, which is pretty amazing on an off quarter. And this continues to move upward in spite of having been thought as a losing proposition not that many years ago. Services jumped by nearly $1.4 billion to almost $11.5 billion in revenue. Even the Mac and iPad had revenue increases, but what did go down, and this is what everybody was preaching, gloom and doom for Apple if this ever happened. What did go down was iPhone revenue by $3.5 billion. And yet, with the rest of the 4 or 5 major categories of how Apple makes money, making more money, it didn't matter. So if Apple continues to have drops in revenue from the iPhone, do you guys see this as having a overall negative impact on their business?
No, I think the iPhone is going to just sail on its way, and it'll continue to sell as it sells, and that's how it goes. I mean, I just don't. Now that the Apple has dove deep into the deep end with the services, I think that's where they can shine now, and it's showing with that latest increase.
What do you think, Warren?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I mean, when they started going to services, we were kind of concerned that they weren't going to be as focused on hardware as they are in services. And then we were a little concerned when they started throwing the services out to pretty much every device out there. even non-Apple related. So and I don't know if you saw, but LG just got an update where you could get the Apple TV now on the LGs. You got the pretty much on the Androids and Windows, you get all of your content on there too. So they were really good at making it so you could get this content pretty much anywhere. So, and they put a lot of thought into the services. The problem is right now is we haven't seen two of the big services out yet, so we don't know if they're going to work, be a hit or not. So the TV service is still not there,
right.
and the arcade service is not there yet. So if they go well and they start selling well, then it's only going to go up from there. It's going to be great news. Apple Music is doing great. The news service, I don't know, they were struggling a little bit, I think, but I haven't heard. I don't know if you guys heard if they said anything about that in the earnings.
About what?
The news service how the Apple News service is doing.
I don't think they've. I mean, it's kind of like what they started doing with some of their other stuff. They basically talk about it as an overall category without really breaking it down into specifics. So if news, which is that's their one new service that they currently have going, if it's doing well or just kind of barely hanging on or just starting to gain some traction or whatever, I'm not sure at this point if Apple would bother to say anything about it one way or the other.
I mean, as long as they have money and as long as they keep making money and as long as they're still making hardware that we want, like iPhones and Macs, then it's all good. There's no bad. We want to see them make money.
The other thing to remember is actually there's two things. Number one, a lot of these services currently are predicated on having Apple devices to consume them. But what we're starting to see, especially starting with the TV service, is that you don't necessarily have to have an Apple device. You can be part of a protocol within somebody else's hardware. Yep. So if that can, and we kind of saw this as well with iTunes, because even going back to the days of the Zune, you could play, or could you play iTunes content on a Zune or other people's players?
I don't think so.
On a what? I'm sorry, on a what?
A Zune, Microsoft Zune.
On a Zune? Can you even find a Zune?
Yeah. Well, and again, a lot
of that was back in the day.
Yeah, that was, and now that I'm thinking about it, that was actually predicated on DRM. So now that DRM is gone, as far as music goes, it truly doesn't matter where you put your Apple Music. You can play it anywhere.
You can play it on the
Android as long as the player can do AAC. Right?
I think you could. There's an Apple Music app for Android, Windows, and iOS out there.
But aren't those? That's the subscription service. I'm talking about. You have actual downloaded music in your iTunes library, and you want to play that on an Android device. As long as that Android device can,
I don't think so.
Use AAC files, then it should be able to play them.
But Apple doesn't care about those. Apple's not selling that. Apple wants Android people to be able to get iTunes Music.
Sure,
Apple Music.
Right.
Yeah, they don't care
Apple
about
Music.
Yeah, they don't care about your collections. So I don't know. I don't think there's. I mean, on a Windows machine you can for sure. You could play iTunes. You could keep iTunes on Windows. I don't know about an Android, to be honest with you. It's certainly no iTunes client, so you would have to download.
Well, you could just download the files directly. And again, as long as there's no DRM, so as long as that phone has a not decoder, a codec or that can read the codec AAC, which is what Apple's purchase music is, then it should be able to play it. I should be able to take an AAC file from my iTunes folder, put it directly on an Android device, and play it. There's no DRM.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm looking at something too, is when you subscribe to Apple Music, you have the ability to download songs from Apple Music down to your local computers, or your iPhone. Right. And they download them down as M4As.
Yeah, that's AAC.
Right, but if I move that file to another device, it will not play at all.
That's what it's saying.
That's what I know, because it's from Apple Music. It is DRM or something, because follow me. I subscribe to Apple Music. I could get any album in the world. I could optionally download that content to my Mac.
Right.
It will only play on that Mac.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to do some more research, because I was under the impression that as long as whatever device you put it on could decode a AAC or MP4 or M4A file, that it should be able to play it. Because again, without DRM, there's nothing keeping it from playing.
But think about that, because if you have Apple Music, you have access to the entire library. You can download anything from there. In that thought, then I could just share those files with anybody.
Sure.
That doesn't work.
Well, I mean, I've got a program called, let me find it here, Audio Converter Pro.
It won't play it. If it's a music,
it'll convert it. I can convert an AAC file, format Apple M4A to whatever kind of other codec I want.
It's got DRM in it. As far
Trust
as
me, guys. If it downloads it from Apple Music, you're not converting it, and you're not playing it. I've tried.
Yeah, you can't do anything to that file. I've tried to.
If you have your own music that you added to iTunes on your music,
right, like iTunes Match.
Yeah, iTunes Match, or even if I ripped a CD, those songs I could put anywhere. It doesn't matter. But if you download them from Apple Music and you don't own that song, you never own that song, then it's not going to play. Once it's off that Mac, it doesn't play on a different device.
Mac, iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch.
It has to be downloaded from that device. So my phone, I downloaded my entire music library that I subscribe to on Apple Music, and it'll play fine on here. But that you have to download them to whatever device you need to use.
Okay, I just took a song that I know I purchased.
Again,
iTunes.
if you purchase it, it's different.
If you purchased it, that's a different story. That's a different story.
Oh, okay. You're talking about subscribed music that you've downloaded as part of the subscription service.
From Apple Music.
Yes, that's going to have DRM, because that's the only way that Apple would be allowed to. I'm talking about music that I have purchased from iTunes.
Yes.
I can do whatever I want with that music.
Yes. If you
on any device. Okay. All right. We were talking on cross purposes. All right.
Yes, we were.
All right. So, no. I wasn't the one that made the mistake here, sir. No, sir. No, sorry. Look, my mouth is downturned dramatically. Okay. Well, that was a interesting thing that went nowhere fast. Here we go.
Brain hurt. Go ahead.
Analysts that suck, or possibly just suck less. Independent analysts beat out established ones significantly in the let's make wild-ass guesses about how much Apple will make this quarter, with Gene Munster, once the darling of predictions, dropping all the way to the bottom of the chart, according to Phil DeWitt's article that I will link to someplace. Now, just on the general principles of saying that analysts suck, the fact that someone has gone to all the trouble to rank them independently versus established analysts, it kind of blows my mind. I have no idea why someone would do that, because they all suck.
Philip Elmer-Witt has been a hardcore Apple guy for a long time. He likes to cover this stuff, and these analysts love to analyze analysts.
Well, they just suck. I hate them.
People have stock in Apple, and they look to people like these guys to try to give them advice of what to do.
Blah.
That's what they do. Yeah. If they should try to figure out Bitcoin. That's what they need to. I don't have any Bitcoin, but if you ever follow Bitcoin, it makes no rhyme or reason of it going up and down. Up
No,
and down.
it's like a freaking roller coaster ride to nowhere. It's like, have you guys ever played Roller Coaster Tycoon?
Yeah.
Did you ever make a roller coaster that just went straight up, straight down, and then had a dip up, and then you just watched that cart go flying off into the distance just because you could?
No.
Well, I did. And that's kind of like what analysts are like. You know, that they have no clue as to any real rhyme or reason. They're basing half of what they're saying on innuendo and unconfirmed rumors. You know, the whole thing, and it seems like every single March or April, as the guesses for what the next iPhone will be, we start hearing all these, and it's the same thing every single year, where we hear these analysts talking about, well, according to this case manufacturer that I saw when I was there in Taiwan, that the iPhone is going to look like this, have 15,000 cameras, and will use MP4s as their main ways of communicating with Saturn. What? I don't know. They don't know. Nobody knows. Except the Saturn thing. I may have made that up. Maybe.
Somebody knows. Yeah.
Somebody said that somewhere. Oh, okay. So anything else about analysts that you want to hate them, you want to love them, you want to say that they're the greatest thing since sliced pizza on toast?
They're not worth analyzing.
Do they analyze toast? If they analyze toast, I like them.
They should. Toast should definitely be analyzed.
It should be.
Yeah. Butter, jam, peanut butter. What's your favorite? I'm kind of a fan of blueberry preserves. With just a little bit of butter, you know, not so much that it overwhelms the blueberry preserves. Are we really talking about this?
Somebody's gonna analyze the toast.
You brought it up.
All right, let's move on to Macstock, which we just walked away from. David, you were there.
At least two of us did.
Yeah. Now you have the 5-year pin.
I do.
And as do I. Both of us have gone there 5 years in a row, with one person in this room that hasn't.
As a gift.
In
fact,
you still got it right there?
No, I got my note. Remember the note he put? Mike gave us that really nice note. That these are the crazy ones.
We are the crazy ones.
It was a very nice note he gave us.
I decided
this was the amazing thing they did with this book. Because
let me ask you something. Did you get that weird little like Mac toy
program?
Thing?
I did. Yeah,
What is that?
A classic bot. In fact, Leo Laporte just one of the guys on MacBook Weekly just had it as one of their picks of the week. It's like an old Macintosh with a that has the old mouse and a suitcase that's fonts. It was kind of cool. He gave that to us.
Well, it is, but I couldn't quite figure out exactly.
Show it to me. What are you guys talking about?
I have it. I left it. It's on my desk at work, so I don't have it. So
yeah, I don't have mine right here. It's
if you go to classicbot.com, that's.
I've seen the one where you could use a watch. You can put your watch and stuff like that.
No, this one actually.
I have one of those. That's how I charge my watch. As a matter of fact, is through that one. It looks like an iMac.
Ah, I see them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the one that's on the homepage is the old G3s or the iMacs, but the one he gave us were the Macintosh. Yeah, scroll down under About. That's the one we have. That's the classic bot.
And what do you do with it? Nothing.
Nothing. It's just for show.
I left it in the box and put it on my desk at work.
Yeah.
This looks like it's from Johnny I. It's Johnny I's new company.
It's what he's going to be doing next. However, I decided this because I've flown to this conference once, and that was the time that United decided that they were going to cancel my flight, And instead of sending me directly to Chicago, they were going to first make me wait in D.C. for 2 hours, then send me to Kansas City for 5 hours, and then get me into Chicago at 9 o'clock at night instead of 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I didn't do that again, and I've driven all the other years until this year, when I decided I wanted to have an adventure, and I took the train. And I had a sleeper car, which was good because in both Chicago and DC, that allowed me to have a access to their first class lounge, which, it's
Yeah, it looked first class. Yeah.
yeah, it was nice, as compared to just sitting out in the hallway with people coming up to you and begging you for money every 5 minutes. The car itself was not as big as I thought it was. I think part of the problem is my conception of what it was going to be like was based on things like what I'd seen in the movies, like The Thin Man. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the Thin Man movies. And they're always in these big luxurious cars that have like a full table, and they're drinking and they have, because it was then, they had like 2 beds they were sleeping in and all the rest of the nonsense that went along with the 30s and the 40s. And instead it's like this thing a little bit larger than a closet that I might have had in a decently sized house. It was just long enough that when they put the seats down flat and put a mattress on top of that I could just barely get my feet from end to end, or not my feet, but my head all the way down to my feet would completely fill the room. And then you throw in the swaying of the cars and the occasional stops as it's going through the night. I really didn't get a whole lot of sleep, which was unfortunate because on that Thursday they had like all kinds of activities planned. Did you go to any of that, Dave, or did you have to work?
I went on Thursday. I had to work, but I know about all the activities since I am good friends with Barry Falk. So
yeah, well, and you live in that area.
I live with him. Yeah, I live in his next town over. So on Wednesday we had a whole consortium of folks that went to the Chicago White Sox baseball game.
Right.
Thursday they did a whirlwind tour of Chicago where they did a photo walk at the Lincoln Park Zoo and then finished off at the top of the John Hancock building, the observatory, but the 95th.
95th floor. It's way up there.
It's a restaurant, and then Friday we got to get a tour of OWC, Other World Computing. I got to go on that, and that was fun, and got to meet the folks there, and it's a pretty awesome facility. And
now you saw me at all those, right?
That I did.
No, you didn't. You didn't see me at any of those things.
No, you did not. Yes, I did all these items.
Yes. I was very ill.
I have to fly really far to get to this conference, because it's only an hour drive.
Yeah.
I did a tour of Chicago on my own, my wife.
I actually have 2 cousins.
Architecture tour.
I have 2 cousins that live in Chicago, and I have yet to see either of them on any of these trips, which is my bad. I need to.
Well, Dave and I tried to hook up, but it didn't work. But I did the boat tour, the architectural tour.
Yeah,
I went
That's awesome.
on top of the Willis Tower. I did the floor thing.
You went out on the ledge.
The ledge, yeah, which cracked a couple weeks before that. Actually, did you hear? You heard about that, right?
Yeah. I don't think I would do that.
It's just the top layer.
Oh, come on, but still, if you're sitting on that, the woman, the article said the woman's face turned white. I'm like, yeah.
Well, depending on how big she was, she probably just would have bounced.
Yeah,
okay. I was not feeling well after the train ride, so I spent almost all day Thursday. They let me check into the hotel early, and I slept almost that entire day, and then almost that entire night. But we got up Saturday morning, and the conference went into full swing after some introductions with Mike Potter at the beginning, along with Wally. Allison Sheridan was the first speaker, and she actually had me. She had me come up And she wanted me to choose like the first adventure because she had these 5 different adventures set up, and she wanted me to choose. And so I was supposed to make a big production of it, which I did, and that was fun. I had a good time with that. Anytime I can make a spectacle of myself, I'm good with that. So the whole morning, all the speakers in the morning, the ones I saw, because I was, as usual, out in the lunch area setting up all my equipment, I've really got to cut back on the amount of gear that I take. And I do. I do take a few things off every single year, but I still have way too much. Anyway.
And I was right after Allison, so you saw me second.
Yes. And then right after lunch, they had Tim and I did the MyMac Game Show quiz, where if you got picked, you won a prize. That's the way the MyMac games. You cannot lose the MyMac. You have to go to extraordinary lengths to lose at the MyMac Game Show quiz.
Nice toolkits they're giving away.
I got one. Somebody, I think Dave Hamilton, because he ended up with 2. And so he gave me one of his. And speaking of Dave Hamilton,
yes,
he had something. The man, the myth, the legend. He had something that I have been lusting after.
We were both.
Since it first came out.
I was lusting over it when he posted it on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
You got to bring this.
And he did. It was the Rode Procaster, which is this combination 4-input mixer, and it's got sliders, and it makes Julian fries. Bluetooth. And you can hook up an iPhone to this thing through Bluetooth or directly through USB. I mean, it has an SD card recorder. The thing is just like solid for a podcaster. It's like solid sex. There's absolutely no. That's exactly what it is. It's just this amazing bit of hardware, or it would have been an amazing bit of hardware
if it would have worked.
If it would have worked, because it was not working, and Dave ended up, because he didn't have. He kind of came at the last minute, so he didn't have a lot of the gear that he normally would have had, but he knew that
he had Plan B and Plan C in place. I was Plan C.
But he had he knew that I was going to bring too much gear, and he knew that you had too much gear, Dave. So between the two of us, we had it all covered.
I'm local, so
yeah. So microphones and XLR cables, none of which he ended up using when he actually recorded the Mac Geek Gab.
I felt like I was a podcast roadie.
Yeah, but it didn't matter, because he ended up using just the stuff he had brought anyway, because he couldn't get the Rode Procaster to work.
All right, so you're getting ahead of things here. So 2 podcasts. Surprise! I gotta reel you in here. David Sparks and those he did his 500th episode of the Mac Power Users, which was great. It was we were sworn to secrecy, so we can't tell you what he talked about because it's not going to get released until September. But it was September. Because, I mean, they're only on like episode 482 or something like that, so they still have like 6 or what is that, 10 weeks?
A bunch of episodes.
Yeah, so, but that was kind of cool that he wanted to do that. And then, and like I said, they did the Mac Geek Gab, recorded that live at the hotel, which was awesome. I had a blast, and and they were taking questions, which was really cool. And boy, John F. Braun he felt way out of his element, because he is so locked on what he wants to do. But we were taking a lot of questions. Dave was taking a lot of questions. I even asked a question. So, that was a lot of fun. But the conference was great. I mean, there was a lot of great speakers. On Sunday, you wrapped up and recorded all your interviews, and I actually, for the first time ever, did my podcast at.
I had you on finally.
Yeah, and you had me on yours, and you were on mine, and
I did like 8 live casts while I was there.
Yeah, I did 7, so I was impressed myself. Finally got Dave on my show, so I was really happy about that. And the
only thing was kind of with his time.
He really is. He's one of the best guys ever. The only thing that was a little disappointing, and I was listening to MyMac this morning when you with your interviews, when Allison was in a rush to go see the OWC guy because they were at a show about hooking up. Did you hear about this? The guy's in a breakout room. He's going to talk about how you can use your USB-C devices on your iPad Pro.
Okay.
So he comes in, he starts hooking these things up. We're sitting in the room and says, yeah. First off, he's running beta on all his iPads. I'm like, are you out of your mind?
Why would he do that?
Why would you do that? So of course things were crashing and burning. And then he comes out. And I have to admit something. I have an Android phone. He says this to us. I mean, he works for an Apple-based company. I have an Android phone. So Allison got really mad, and of course Dave was in there too. We all just walked out. But I mean, it just, I mean, I'm not knocking OBC. We really appreciate a lot of the stuff that they did. I just was we're kind of disappointed with that.
But there was so much, yeah. No, I hadn't heard about that.
Kirshen did the thing on the sketch notes. Sketch notes is really cool. I think it is so cool. And every time she does mine, I always grab a screen capture of it and post it out on social media because I just like to see how she.
Well, that was your whole presentation was about note-taking apps.
Mine was on note-taking, so I was before her, but her note-taking was actually using sketch notes, which are kind of like caricatures and like almost like comics.
Does that like mine OCR? Does that do OCR or is that something? No,
it's just you're just writing things up like you're diagramming, you're doing pictures, and it's an actual platform. No, mine was all about Apple Notes and then Microsoft OneNote and getting people to learn a little more about how those work on the iOS device.
Yeah.
So now you and I are just taking up all the time, and Warren's just sitting here listening to us.
We're telling him all the stuff that he missed. That was so wonderful because Saturday night, they had like a dinner for weekend pass holders there at the Hampton, which was right there where most of the speakers were staying, and then in a separate room they had Dave and John doing the Mac Geek Gab, and then they also had like a family room with board games and things like that for kids and right
breastfeeding.
Well, no, I can't recall any live breastfeeding while.
That's what I think about when somebody says family room. Like when you go to the mall, it says family bathroom. Like I know what's going on there.
Well, but see, there's a like a restaurant bar that's in the same property as the Hampton, and that's the Bulldog. And they were having a more adult like game show night, mostly with you don't know Jack type of games. And I have to say,
Quiplash.
Yeah, that my name was used in vain.
Yours
again,
and Chuck
Joyner. Chuck Joyner and I have a lot to complain about.
I walked up and was like, some of these questions were pretty crude, and both your names came up.
Okay, we came up quite often, but it was all in fun. I didn't take it personally.
No,
I did not take it personally.
I really go ahead.
What were the questions like, though? Like, were they technical or were they not technical?
No. It was just, if you were going to make breakfast for a hooker, what would that breakfast be? Would be made of eggs and blank, and then you would have to fill in the blank. A very crude kind of game.
Just was it a trivia game?
No,
it's an Apple TV game called Quiplash.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking like the trivia game that you made. I'm like, that doesn't sound very technical to me, but
no, it wasn't technical at all.
No, this is a Saturday night to have fun. This isn't
and too much everyone is drinking, so
but
the answers
one thing I want to
as the night went on, as the night went on, the answers became more and more open. That's a good word, open.
That's a nice way, nice
freewheeling.
So then, they had the Macstock Film Festival, which was actually so awesome.
It was.
As Frank is in the chat room. Frank had a great video of him he had a GoPro, on with him, and he it was how he views things in his perspective, since he is in a wheelchair and handicapped. And I thought Frank, you did a great job
great. That was
with
great.
that. The video is
Yeah.
it was a really good one. Some other guy, Guy Serle did. He did this thing about his journey on the train, yeah, that was interesting. But
the biggest laugh came at the end when I said, if you want to know what this is like, watch this movie 340 times.
340 times. Yeah.
I'll put that up. I'll put that up on YouTube.
Yeah, you should. And then the wrap up was great. Kelly Guimont was going around and recording as many people she could get to say thanks Macstock, thanks Macstock, thanks. And she did just she did this on the fly. She started it like early morning on not early morning, like mid morning on Sunday, and then had it already edited and ready to go to play at the end. And it brought a tear to Mike Potter's eye. It was it was really touching that.
Well, because Mike
Mike
puts so much effort and work into this show every single year and he doesn't, a lot of people will give him, it's like, oh yeah, Mike Potter did the Macstock conference, but I don't think anyone really understands how hard he has to work to put this thing together almost every single year.
The entire production, his family. Yeah.
Yeah, slave labor. It's kind of what it is.
They even if you now you're going to be able to if you want you can buy a digital pass if you want to be able to watch all the presentations. They're going to have those posted out there, so you should go to Macstock Conference and expo.com and check that out. That's going to be available soon. I'm not sure when, but probably a month or two.
Allison actually has her presentation up on YouTube already.
Yeah, Steve always records it for her. I should ask him one year. It's like, Steve, can you record mine too? Don't forget Frank mentioned L's Yoga for Nerds. That was kind of neat.
Oh yeah. I forgot, but they had a thing early in the morning before the conference actually opened. You could go in and do yoga. Yeah, that wasn't. I wasn't there.
No, and everybody kept trying to get Chuck Joyner to do it, and he's like, "Yeah, I can't do that."
No, I'm not going to.
But
do that.
overall, amazing conference, Warren. We need to get you out there, man. It was
next year. It's going to be next year.
You really should.
Yeah, I will. I'll make it.
And for people who want, we talked about this over and over again as the conference got closer and closer, and I certainly talked it up on MyMac.com podcast.
Me too.
If you want to see more information on this conference and what it was like, just go to Macstock2019.com, which will link you over to the main site. Yeah. And you can see everything that was going on. Get the digital pass so that you can actually see all of the conferences and everything else. This is as they put it out, because it's not all there right now.
Nope, it will be probably the next month, I think.
Yeah. The next step, I think,
how much is that pass?
I think it's like $89.
Yeah.
What?
So.
Okay.
But it's like for everything.
Yeah.
You get every single thing
title.
they recorded everything.
Yeah.
All the conferences. So, and Warren, you have no excuse. Here are the dates for Macstock 2020.
Oh my God!
July 25th and 26th, 2020.
It's the last weekend of July.
Let me put it in my calendar right now.
July 25th and 26th.
It's all on my calendar.
And the theme for next year's Macstock this year was create. This year it's play. Or not this year.
We have a question from Damon Thornton. Okay. He says, hopefully serious question. When should we expect to see pricing for the 2019 Mac Pro? Mid-late August. I'm guessing we're not going to see the pricing on that machine until they actually release it. I don't think that, and again, they'll have some kind of event for the iPhone late September, early October, more or less. And I'm guessing that could be a one more thing as far as announcing pricing goes. I don't think for something like the Mac Pro that they're going to just throw it out on the website.
This is for pros.
Oh, wait a second. They are not going to announce this in any shape or form. It's going to show up on the website one day when it's available.
Really? You don't think that they'll have some kind of special thing?
It's going to be $1 million. They don't want to advertise that. Seriously,
Everyone's going to know anyway. So what's the point?
We all pretty much know what the base price is $6,000. I mean, it starts at 6,000. It goes up.
There's no way they're gonna make a big deal out of the price.
They did say something in the call. They just said something in the call that the Mac Pro is going to probably be manufactured in the U.S. So that's probably
assembled
That's what Tim
in
Cook
the U.S.
assembled.
Tim Cook is hoping.
Yeah.
Well, like Frank said, we are not the Democrat. We are not the demographic for that computer.
I am.
Yeah, I could be.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm so not.
I was saying, you can't even afford a $600 Rode Pro.
Dude, all I got to do is sell like about 6 or 7 microphones, and I'm right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Why do I have so many microphones? I don't know.
I have no idea. I own at least 3 of them. The ones you had.
Well, now remember, Dave, that the sometime in probably December, Audio Technica will be having their I don't know what you would call it, factory sale or whatever. And they had the 2100s and the 2005s, the dual USB XLR microphones. $25. And if I didn't already have a crap ton of microphones, I would have bought some more. But I actually had them in the cart, but I just couldn't pull the trigger. It's like I just can't justify, as I look over here at a different microphone I bought while I was there, that wasn't one of those that were cheap.
And you use your Sennheiser mics when you're on the road, so.
Yeah, my E835s. I love that microphone. Those are such great mics.
I collect laptops.
Yeah, and I don't know why I'm so obsessed with microphones. It's so weird. Frank says I'm barely an iMac Pro. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank. See you next year, Frank. That wasn't threatening at all. No, not at all. All right. So, we're gonna carry on, and I guess we're gonna phallic. We're gonna let this go for the evening. David, if people wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do it?
They would do that by visiting intouchwithios.com. Listen to the latest episode. Had 7 great interviews with lots of great people in the Apple community. You also can find me at offthechartshorseracing.com. I do that podcast. And Twitter, DaveG65. That's the best place to find me. Scouring the social medias.
What about you, Mr. Sklar?
You can find Dave and have Dave find me.
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
Contact
I
Dave.
think
and Dave
I think you're gonna have to change that lower third on for that one now.
I'm very confused. I'm very confused. Well, hold on. Let's see. I can get back to that. No, it still just says
none of your Guatemalan business.
None of your Guatemalan Malian business.
Change it.
To what?
Change it to contact Dave Ginsburg and tell him to get a hold of me.
All right. Let's see. Contact Dave Ginsburg
Facebook
to get a hold of me.
There you
go. Let's see. There we go.
Okay, that's perfect. That's my contact info. It's on my business.
I guess that's going to be on for a while now.
Things are going so well.
Say goodnight, Gracie.
If you'd like to get a hold of me,
Good night, Gracie.
All you'd have to do is contact me via my email address, which is guy@mymac.com. I also have 2 Twitter accounts, Mac Parrot and Vert Shark.
Dun, dun, dun,
Dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun.
It's Shark Week.
It is Shark Week.
It is Shark
Week. I also do Guy's Daily Drive, where I illegally record myself while driving a car and talk about stuff. And lastly, I do for many, many, many years, I've been doing the MyMac.com podcast with Mr. Gazmaz over there in the UK. We are coming up sometime in probably November will be the 500th episode that he and I have done together. Of course, there's been ones that he's missed and there's been ones that I've missed. But if you count from the very first one we did together until that one, which will be 785, that'll be 500 episodes of the MyMac.com podcast that he and I have done together. And it kind of blows my mind to think that I have been doing that for 15 years now, I think, the MyMac.com podcast. I think I might have had hair back then. No, I didn't have hair then either. It's sad. All right.
I saw in the video the back of your head, and the back of your head has hair.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've got.
He's got lots of hair.
Yeah.
He had it down at Macstock, so.
Yeah, I didn't wear the ponytail the whole time.
Yeah, but when we do this, you don't notice that you have that, so it kind of shocked me and scared me.
Because he wears the hat.
Yeah. But
when we did a video like this, you don't see it obviously when I'm staring into your face, so you don't see the back of your head.
Because that's the scary bit, Warren, is my face.
No, I was watching one of your videos and I saw the back of your head. I'm like, holy crap, there's an animal on the back of the guy's head. I'm like, I tried to contact you and send you an email. I tried to Facebook message you and say, listen, turn around, there's something on your head.
You're talking about my cat? Talking about Kismet?
Oh. All right.
Okay.
Say goodnight.
All right, I think it's time to go.
Say goodnight.
Say goodnight, Warren.
All right, see you guys.
Say goodnight, David.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.